I will genuinely attribute most of probably like my first 30K in online money to these beliefs and like through the things I'm going to cover just throughout this call. Okay. And genuine, I believe that forget like the word tracks and whatever. If you just understand these concepts and you apply them, you'll be able to make money online. And like you'll understand closing at a high level, setting at a high level, and pretty much just human behavior. Okay. So I just ask, take notes, just listen, and then towards the end, we'll just do like a kind of Q&A session and go from there. So we'll open it up. Why do you think that like some salespeople close like 60%, 70%, 80%, while others will struggle at like 20% on the same leads, send the exact same product to the same market? I'll open up to the floor.
Confidence.
Confidence, okay.
Conviction.
Conviction. Nice.
They don't have the
Okay.
belief.
The belief. Nice. Spot on.
I feel like some people have that belief that they're going to close every single person, and some are just have like the opposite belief, saying that they have faith in their doubt rather than
There you go. Spot on. All good answers. All good answers. And the exact things that you said is the same reason some people will do better in sports than others. The same reason some people will do better in school. It's all the same stuff. It's the internal principles, right? The same thing applies to sales. There's a reason some people will get better offers or some people will find it easier, whatever it is because all of us have had different lives that have shaped us in some different way that have affected our beliefs and our levels of hunger, motivation, or whatever it is. Okay. So I think Jamie, you said it first, nail on the head, beliefs, right? And I was kind of looking back at my own journey, and these were three different photos that I picked out that kind of like stuck in my head. Okay, some of these are from like over a year ago, some of these are less than like 8 or 9 months, right? This was the first one. This was like when I was a month into high ticket sales and I just started setting. Okay. I was still kind of like navigating it and figuring out what it was. I was still wrapping my head around it. I started making money, but I didn't like fully know what I wanted to do. Right. This was, I think, maybe 8 months ago. This is when I had my first like identity shift or identity clash, I would say, between like being an athlete and being someone that like makes money online. Right. And I kind of had to make that choice of like, what belief that I want. This was probably a month, I'll say, after this, and I went from setting to closing, and then I actually started like taking in booked calls, having them on my calendar, and the shift kind of happened naturally, right? And I was kind of thinking like, how did this even happen? Like, how did I go from here to here to here? And I realized it was just the belief. Like the belief just started to build over time because up in this one, I would say I was very much more short-term costs. I just invested everything I had. It was still very confusing. I didn't really know where I wanted to go long-term. And then here, I realized like the bigger picture, what I wanted, what that would look like, and it started to make a little bit of sense, right? It was still very much alien. So I retraced my steps even further, like what actually got me over the line. And I came to this realization. Majority of the time, the reason like most people don't go all in or they'll have doubts or they'll have uncertainties is just it's a fear of failure, right? We all have it in different aspects. 1 second. So yeah, we all have it in different aspects, and like if you don't check it at some stage, it's gonna come up, right? Whether it's the way you apply to offers, whether it's the way you speak on calls, whether it's the amount of role plays you do, whether it's just the way you go about your daily life, right? If there's somewhere in your brain or your subconscious that is like, this is not going to work, it's going to creep into other areas. Okay. And for me, that meant that like I was sitting on calls with people as a closer and I was selling a 6.8K ticket and I felt uncomfortable dropping that price because I wasn't used to numbers like that. And then that would come off of my conviction. And I'd almost feel like weird saying it to them. I'd be like, oh, this is the price. But I'd never invested that amount of money myself or dealt with that amount of numbers. So I said it to Tomas a while ago, I think. I spoke with some millionaire and I was like, what's your goal? And he was like, oh, I want to do 7 mil this year. That concept was crazy to me. And I was like, oh yeah, let's start small, maybe like a mil. He got offended and he was like, you've just taken 6 mil off my year. But to me at that time, that number felt bizarre to even imagine, you know? further down the line, I came to realize I can't expect people to close. I can't expect people to invest in themselves. I can't expect them to take a leap if I don't know what it feels like, right? So what did I do from there? I went out and in the last 8 months, I invested 18.9K into myself because for me to be able to tell people to do X, I have to know what it feels like, right? And I still do it today. I still invest into myself. The last one was I went to a mastermind a few days ago. I invested 3K into personal branding. And each time it hurts. Don't get me wrong. Like each time the money leaves my account, I'm like, that, I'm like that. You know, there's always that pinch. But that pinch, that's what you want because that's where you start to close the gap, right? The way I see it is like every euro, every dollar you spend is like an action denoting the person you want to be, right? So there's no like loss in money. It's just energy in circulation. But the fact that I did this and I spent this money into myself, it allowed me to get to a point in which I was able to get results like these, in which I was able to actually ask people for this type of money online, which I was able to actually get rewarded for my skill set and more importantly for the identity that I was building for myself, right? And this isn't to show off money or flex, but it's just to show one that it is possible, and two that if you don't allow yourself to shift your belief from a short-term vision, from a fear of failure to a long-term vision, you're always going to get stuck in that like that middle ground, okay? And that's the worst place to be, in the middle ground, right? And I'll tell you why. The way I viewed it and what I've come to now realize more times, and this was the difference between me when I was up here and me when I started to make these shifts, right? Back when I was that first person, I struggled to invest into myself because I still had self-doubts whether or not it would work. I had a fear of failure and I wasn't fully believing in my own dream, yet I was expecting the universe and reality and everything else to give me what I wanted, right? Then I started to realize every dollar that I spend was like that reaffirmation of the belief that I actually want and that it's actually possible. That was the only belief shift that happened. Everything else was still the same. I was still the same person, living in Ireland, doing the same hobbies. My beliefs were just starting to shift. All right. And then thankfully the money came as a result. But what I even want to achieve today in this call is afterwards, I want you all to have a very good understanding of what actually motivates human change. Like, why do people buy? Like, what is closing, right? How is it different to selling to someone? How do you actually get someone to want to make a decision for themselves? What are the beliefs you need? And how does that translate into the questions we ask, your discovery, X, Y, Z? Okay. So I want to open it up to Yi again. And I'll ask you, you can unmute, you can drop in the chat, whatever. When you all wake up every day, like what's actually motivating you?
Getting to that
So
place that I know I can get to, the place I've envisioned in my head for the past couple of years, the place I know I can get to, reaching that full potential.
okay. And what does that look like? If you don't mind me asking.
Time freedom, location freedom. If I want to bring my family places, I can. If I want to wake up in Spain in the morning, I can hop on a flight and I can have the freedom to work from wherever I want.
Nice. Solid. Solid. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Clear.
so if I can pitch in, my motivation would be it's a bit of a it's a bit of a selfless one. So
Sure,
basically,
sure.
my parent, it's just to make sure I can provide for my parents, give back uh, the care and love that they gave back to me.
Yeah.
As they're still struggling into their old age, it kind of like pains me to see them having to work well in their 60s. So that's a huge motivator. Um,
Mhm.
Also for myself as well, just to just prove myself that despite my intellectual um, uh, um, problems that I had when I was a kid, I can still be something and just make sure that I can prove to myself that I have what it takes, even when I am disadvantaged in some shape or form, that I can outperform absolutely everyone I come against.
There you go, man. Love that. That's solid. Good shit. Good shit. Jabril?
Yeah, that's some good shit, Oliver, for real. And
Yeah,
it's,
for real.
it's sort of similar. Like I want to be able to take care of my family as well, And I just want to be able to look in the mirror and just say like, damn, bro, like you've actually done it. And like, I want to be able to look in there and like be genuinely proud of myself of what I've achieved and what I've done. So yeah.
Nice,
Sure, for sure.
nice. Thomas?
Just it's almost a fear, but just the fear of not wasting time. You know, you've got such a short window in the flesh here on this planet, and it's like you got to use every minute, every second of it to kind of be the best that you can be. You know, so yeah, just kind of trying to be as just trying to be as productive and trying to be as kind of effective to create a legacy with your time as possible. You know.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Deuce?
Yeah, I suppose kind of more or less same as the boys. I suppose as a man, your number one goal in life is to be the provider, whatever, for your family and the people around you. So yeah, biggest motivator is leaving behind a legacy that I'd be proud of, and people can turn around and everybody will have the same opinion of you. So that's a massive thing for me.
Nice. Solid. Solid. Anyone else? No pressure on anyone. If not, all good. Sweet. All right. So everyone has pretty big goals, right? I don't think anyone would be here otherwise, which is great to see. Like everyone has an intrinsic motivation that's driving them to want to take actions. Okay. The same reason all of you are on here doing sales. Internet in the bin. Solid, man. Love that. The same way all of you are doing this, you've attached the action to the outcome, right? It's the same way, like to understand people, I don't know, growing up, our parents might have given out that like we didn't clean the house on time or we didn't do this and that, right? But they had just attached that action to an outcome. This is the way my child's going to grow up. This is the way they're going to go out in the world. This is going to affect their success, right? So internally, at some foundational human level, we all have goals and needs that we want met. And then when you just reverse engineer it, we're all the same. It's just the way that we approach it, and maybe our outlook on life has been altered through whatever lens that we grew up in. But internally, at a foundation level, it's all the same. Most of us mentioned there goals that we want to hit, right? Things that are up here that we'd like to get to. I want to be able to do this, to become this person. Because most of us see ourselves like this is all of us, right? Whether we realize it or not, we're all mouses. I don't know if any of you have heard this analogy before. We're all mouses and we're chasing cheese. That's pretty much it. And we're constantly chasing to just hit that cheese, right? The problem with that is when is the cheese enough? Like when do you stop being hungry? When do you realize, you know what? Let me actually just hit the gym. Let me shred some of this. Maybe I've had enough, right? Like what is that level? You know? And that's the thing that I found when I first started this. The goal was financials, right? Then it was like there was always a number in my head. Okay, cool. When I replace my 9 to 5 income, then I'll be happy. Okay, when I make like 5K a month, then I'll be happy. Okay, cool. When I hit like 10K, that will be the goal. And then you start to realize if your goal is solely attached to a financial number, when does that stop being enough? It doesn't, right? So you have to ask yourself, what are you actually chasing alongside all of it? Is it the person you're becoming? Is it what the money allows you to do? Is it the feeling? Is it the journey? But if that isn't clear from the get-go, then you're going to get lost in that middle ground, right? And I think everyone mentioned what they want to get to. I think Tomas, you were the first person that mentioned a fear, right? Which is the other side. There's chasing the cheese, and this can lead to complacency because yes, we all want to hit the cheese, but sometimes if the cheese is too far away, it's like, you know what? I'm not going to chase cheese today. I'm just going to eat whatever I have. But when you start to realize, and I was speaking about this with Jubril recently, when you start to realize that this is actually all of us, we're a lot smaller in the big picture than we think. This is the size of the cheese. The gap is pretty big to actually get there, but this is reality. And this is what most people fail to realize. There is always a massive cat behind you chasing you, whether you realize it or not, right? Whether it's someone that's younger than you, that's twice as hungry as you, who wants to leapfrog you, whether it is the consequence of you not taking any action, still doing the same things over and over and expecting to somehow get there, whether it's not taking your opportunities when they come because you still think there's a tomorrow, or I'm going to do it next week or next year, whatever it is. The reason most people don't get to their goals is because they're always looking at the cheese, but they're never thinking about what's the massive cat that's chasing them, right? And when you start to view it this way instead, what am I losing out on as a result of not taking action? What am I leaving on the table by not doing everything I can? Like who who am I allowing myself not to be just by small tweaks in my day-to-day life that I'm not willing to take, right? When you do that, you realize this is the small guy. These are the two big things. You will end up on either one of these, right? But that choice is up to you. And for me, what it came down to when I was this person up here was my big fear was living in that 9 to 5 life, right? And it's not the 9 to 5 itself. Like if you work a 9 to 5 and you're happy, perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, it was I knew there was a much bigger cheese, and I knew that I was capable of hitting it, and I knew I wanted to hit it. But I also knew that it wasn't going to give me the life I wanted by turning up every day, trading my 40 hours for a fixed income, um, settling, and just living that like mundane lifestyle. That was my cat. So it motivated me to actually make change, become a setter, become a closer, study, invest, XYZ, right? And it made me just speed up my process. But if I had never thought that way, I would have been complacent. I would have been happy coasting. I would have been happy maybe just setting, maybe just doing this and this and this. So for all of you, the first thing I want you to take away from today is what is your version of this? Like, what is the massive cat in your life that's chasing you every day, whether or not you realize it? What does that look like? And get very, very clear on that picture today. Like, what is the cost of you not doing everything possible to close the gap? Because that's what it is. It's the gap. To close the gap on hitting that cheese and becoming the person that you want, right? And then every day reverse engineer how you can get further away from this person and closer to that person. That's the first thing I want you to focus on. All right. So, second question, and I'll open it up to the floor. What is the main thing you're hoping to achieve as a result of this call today? Like when you hopped on today, what was the main thing that was coming to your head that you're like, okay, cool, this is what I'm coming for? You can join chat, you can unmute. JB?
Is to I guess to get over my fears a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, to get over my fears and to understand that the bigger picture is more important than my fears. Yeah.
Okay. When you say like your fears, expand on that.
I guess the fear of failure, like you said before, yeah, definitely that the fear of failure, the fear
Yeah.
of being because of that failure as well.
Yeah. 100%, man. 100%. Nice. Jamie?
Get knowledge and insight to help me get closer to my goals and to help me escape that cat.
Nice. Nice. Oliver? The name Stephanie's throwing me off, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Y'all are
Um,
good, bro.
so yeah, one thing I really hope to achieve while listening to you and the things that we're talking about was just making sure I realize what I need to do in order to escape the person that I am scared of becoming if I never reach the goals I put upon myself.
Yeah.
And like that cat for me is basically um, procrastination uh, mixed with a lot of complacency and comfortability, if that makes sense.
Mm. Nice.
Um,
Awesome.
I know that comfortability is the killer of all dreams. So, in that sense, I just want to make sure that be, I'm not comfortable at the expense of the future that I would love for myself and for my future family.
Yeah. And what made you have that realization?
Just recently, I came across a problem with my mom, in the sense of like she called me crying because her debts were overzealous, and I just stood on the other end of the phone crying because I couldn't do shit about it. So that was kind of like the switch that made me want to go harder in the sales journey.
Yeah. There's your why, man. You found your reason, right? You found your cap.
Yeah, I
Good,
did
man.
indeed.
Nice. Nice. Thank you for sharing, bro. Thank you for
Of
sharing.
course,
Appreciate it.
of course, of course.
Good much.
Yeah, nice one, Oliver. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Um, yeah, for me, it's just kind of just trying to always just trying to always be improving, always kind of trying to gain a skill, hone a skill set, just try to always be learning, try to always be going up and to the left. And if not me, maybe be able to contribute to somebody else on this call, maybe doing the same, be going up and to the left. So that's what it is,
Nice.
just trying to go up and to the left.
Perfect. Perfect. Man. Love that. Why the left? Why not the right?
Or whatever way it is on the stock shares. The other way it's supposed to go up there, up to the right. Sorry, way it's going to go like this.
Nice. Nice. I thought I was the one with it.
That way. Sorry.
You're all good.
It's a
You're
bit,
all
it's a
good.
bit skewed here because I'm looking at myself in the mirror. Whatever way
Leave it off.
the emoji where it goes, where it's the blue emoji, not the red emoji. That's the one I want.
Yeah. All good. All good. All good. But yeah, y'all have like some intrinsic reason that you jumped on today, right? There was some belief that you were hoping you'd be able to achieve. So the way I started to view it was you have to almost like view yourself in the third person. If you were someone, if you were speaking to yourself on a setting call or on a closing call, before you did get into sales, maybe when you had more skepticism or you're a bit more um not as in the know, you had a lack of knowledge, what would have been the things that you would have wanted to know that would have gave you conviction? Or what would have been your main concerns before getting into this, right? Because your objections are their objections. Your limiting beliefs are their limiting beliefs. Your ambitions are their ambitions, right? And you can't, this was the big shift for me. You cannot close somebody on shifting their beliefs if you can't shift your own, right? And what I mean by that is if you're still holding on to like, and we're all guilty of it to a degree, if you're still holding on to like the negative actions, the negative people, the negative daily things that you know don't contribute to your cheese, every time you tell someone else to shift theirs, there's a little bit of that subconscious where it's like, am I that person yet? Am I that person yet? Right? But every time you challenge yourself to do it and step outside your comfort zone, you gain a level of conviction that no word track or no tonality can ever do for you, right? Because that's natural. The same way most of us here were inclined to fitness. If I threw all of you into a fitness closing role tomorrow, I'm sure you'd smash it, right? Because you live it, you know it. It's who you are. It's the way you think. It's the way you operate. You don't need a script for that. It's natural. Do you know what I mean? So it's the exact same way. The more you can break your own limiting beliefs, and I'm not saying you have to become the perfect human, but the more you can shift yourself outside of the comfort zone, it's just gonna transform tenfold. Like improving as a closer is improving as a person. Now I understand like entrepreneurship, it's a self-improvement tool, masters making money. And that's the beauty of it. There's no like end goal. The goal is just become a better person, right? So I reverse engineered it then there's five main beliefs that make a person buy, right? And if you can instill these beliefs into a person, or if you can allow them to see it for themselves, that's what allows them to close. It's not necessarily what you say. It's not necessarily the fact that you've gone through the value stack, that you've used my framework or this person's framework. It's that you've instilled these five beliefs in themselves to allow them to actually shift their beliefs into the person that can get results. Okay. So the first one is that the solution exists, right? I don't know if any of you have ever seen that like marketing graph, but there's like the 70% of people that are unaware of like the problem, right? And then on top of that is that they're unaware of the solution. So firstly, you need to get them to believe that like they might have a problem, but they don't have to stay in that problem. There's a solution. So if you're in a 9 to 5, you have to believe that there's a life outside the 9 to 5. There's a way to make money that doesn't involve having a boss, your 40 hours, XYZ. But if you don't believe that, it's going to feel a lot harder when someone tells you do this because you don't have that belief yourself. Okay. So we want to always get them to articulate it. And you're proving that that problem, it is solvable. And then you position your solution. That's the first belief that they need. Okay. The second belief is that it will work for them. It's all well and good if I tell you you can do this, you can make 10K a month, you can do this and that. If you can't see yourself as that person, if you can't see yourself or they can't see themselves as being able to go through the steps, do the exact same thing and actually get the results, it's a lot harder. It feels too far-fetched. It feels too far away. If Grant Cardone tells me just do this and this and this, you'll make 1 million tomorrow, it might sound great. I might believe him, but I might not be able to see myself doing that same thing. So therefore, I'll just do nothing because the gap is too big. All right. That's the second belief. We need to show them how they can come in and they'll be a good fit. The third belief is they need to have trust. Okay. In this day and age, we're in what's called the trust recession. There's been so much stuff online in social media. There's been scams. There's been goods. There's been crypto stuff. There's been this person, that person. And information is, you can get information at the click of your finger, right? And what that has done is it has made information widespread accessible, but it's also diluted what's good information and what's just waffle, right? And especially coming out to Bali, I've realized there's so much wafflers, so much bluffers. Everyone has the secret formula, okay? So they need to have trust in you, in your solution, and in the ability to actually get them there. If there's no trust, then there's no connection, there's no harmony, they don't have a reason to listen to you. Okay, that's the third belief. Fourth belief is the timing. This is probably one of the bigger ones, right? They need to have the urgency. The same way we spoke about like having that cat to force you to see the actual bigger picture of chasing the cheese. If there's no urgency, if they haven't connected them taking action to now and why it needs to happen and what's the cost of waiting, then there's no real big push for them to not wait a month, 2 months, 3 months, because in their head, it can come back, right? But when you allow someone to realize that this is now or never, it's going to give them that internal pressure, okay? You also need to know whether people are going, like whether there's someone who's towards the goals or away. So the same way a lot of us mentioned, we're chasing something, we're chasing being that person, hitting that goal, XYZ, that's towards, right? Tomas mentioned the fear of still being the same person, that's away. You have to treat those slightly different, all right? Last one then is value. Money is not real. Like money is such a man-made concept for us to be able to just attach status, identity, build a whole like system around it in which people trade X for X, right? Money is nothing more than a denomination of value. There's a reason people pay millions for cars to be able to go to this, to be able to go to that. It's not the price, it's the status attached with it. It's the perceived values, whatever they get. Okay. If you could show someone the value of something, it doesn't matter the price, they will pay it. And that was a big belief shift I had to get as a closer. Because I watched people close 20K tickets, 30K. And in my head, that was like, that's crazy. Why would someone pay that? But in the person that just bought his head, the value that they're getting is so much larger than the price to the point that it becomes a no-brainer to not buy it, right? And that's the way you need to view it. You need to view it as what your solution offers. You need to view it as the pain point that it fixes. And you need to view it as the value and why it's so much higher than the cost. And when you can show someone that belief, it becomes stupid for them to not buy. Okay. So those are the 5 beliefs. And if you don't, you could probably hypothetically get away without instilling one of them, right? But what will happen is somehow, somewhere, there will still be a little bit of uncertainty. And that's typically where you get objections. I want to think about it. Why do they want to think about it? Because they're not sure if it'll work for them, right? And then you just get questions, questions, questions. Do you have any guarantees? Why do they want guarantees? Because they don't trust in you. Okay. So you can reverse engineer this by understanding what someone wants and bringing it into your question. And that's why we have our whole matrix. Okay. Take these 5 beliefs. Okay. It allows us to very easily transform it into questions. Okay. And the questions allow you to run through the beliefs and allow a prospect to be able to internally ask themselves whether or not they have this belief, why they don't have that belief, and what will be missing to actually build it. Right. When we do that, you allow someone to close themselves. We don't want to close people. We don't want to sell someone. We don't want a hard sell. We want to help them guide themselves through their own decision process. And that's what closing is, right? The sooner you make that shift from I have to sell this to I get to guide this person is when you actually start to internalize what it takes. Okay. So we can transform all of that into questions. Like I know I go into detail on like the whole matrix, the framework, X, Y, Z, but fundamentally, I think this is all you need. If you can get through these 8 questions, you can actually go deep enough that someone answers them. You can allow them to shift their belief. So the first one I'll start off with always is problem. Like, what is their problem? If there's no problem, there's no solution. So I'll ask, cool, what prompted you to take this call today? Or I'll ask, what's happening that's made this a priority? This gives them space to open up, right? Then situation. And like, what have you seen in your current situation that's actually driving that change now? Emphasis on this. This is where you instill your urgency, your timing, and you showcase why they shouldn't wait. All right. Qualification. This is just like your authority or maybe your financial qualification. Is there anyone else involved in deciding whether or not this change is possible today? Now I'm building the belief of a solution and whether or not they are a good fit. Right. Limitations and beliefs. What have we currently done so far to try and actually achieve that goal? Commitment. What has surfaced recently that's like made you realize this can no longer wait any longer? Once again, timing. We're just slowly building in that belief and we're allowing them to open it up. We're not telling them this shouldn't wait. We're asking them why can't it wait? Small difference. All right. Identity shift. A lot of people are reluctant to change. What's the reason you chose to not be one of them? If they're on your call, they're there for a reason. They want help, right? You just have to allow them to ask themselves why do they want it, because we all know what we want deep down. We all know how to get there. It's just a case of we need someone a lot of the times to zoom us out and to push us to actually get there. Okay. Future pace then. If nothing changes, once again, building urgency. Where are you in 6 months? Let them build that picture. Consequence. As a result of that, like how would that actually impact you, like financially? In 6 months' time, if you're still in your 9 to 5 and you're not making the amount of money you need, how would that actually like impact you financially? They'll give you an answer. I'm not telling them what their life would look like. I'm not telling them why they have to do X because they have to come to the realization for themselves. All right. Then once we've gone through that, and only until they've actually internalized that shift, we'll pitch the value. Right. We're gonna do this for you and that for you and that for you. Show them what it will actually look like. Do you see that as a solution that would benefit you? This is the biggest thing. They have to be able to come to that realization that it will work for them. If they don't, there's no sale. There's no you can do all the objection handles. If they cannot see themselves as that person and that is possible, then it doesn't make logical sense for them to do something. Right. So if you go through these questions, you instill these beliefs, you ask these questions the right way, boom, that's closing. That's all it is at a fundamental level. Okay. And then you get your commission, happy days. But more importantly, you've allowed someone to go through their beliefs and shift the way they view it and shift whatever problem they have and allow them to go from that mouse that's up here just chasing cheese to the person that realizes why they're chasing cheese, realizes the cost of not chasing cheese, realizes what they're actually running away from. And this is the more rewarding thing, right? Because now they have a good landscape and a view of their own life because of you giving them clarity. Okay. So I want to challenge everyone here today to start viewing it in that way, right? Firstly, what am I losing out on as a result of not taking the steps to become the person I want to be? And secondly, how many people, in one way or another, by not already being the closer you want to be or not already being the seller you want to be, think about the amount of people that you could probably help that we haven't been able to yet or that are waiting for you to be able to help them and how much time is passing, XYZ. The person that you were a year ago, 2 years ago, what would you have given for someone to just come to you with a solution, talk you through it, and help you get out of your own head? Do you know? I would have paid thousands for that. Like to me, that's priceless. You know, so that's the outlook I wanted to try and instill with everyone, and just show everyone that it's possible from all of that. Right. Um. So yeah, I guess that was my little ramble. Hope you took something away from that. I will open up the floor to anyone have any questions on anything from there.
Could you put that, that little bit you had at the end with all like the questions and stuff? Could you just take a picture of that and send it into the group?
Yeah, for sure, I got you.
I'll
Cheers.
send it right now because I actually took a screenshot of it.
Nice
All
one,
good.
Badoo.
All good, all good.
Just wanted to ask real quick, what belief has, well, I know like they're all important in themselves because you can't really like have a close without interconnecting each and every one of them. But
Yeah,
which one would you actually say is like really the one that we have to double down on the most, and why?
good question. Good question. Um, yeah, I think you did touch on it. They are all important in their own way because they all
Mhm.
play a piece of the pie. I would say the one that's most important is getting someone to see themselves, like getting someone to realize I can do it.
Mhm.
Because you can have the best offer, it could be the best timing, they might have the money. If I don't think that I can, I don't know, go out and climb Mount Everest tomorrow, there's no logical reason I'm going to put on my shoes, make a trip there, and start just walking. It doesn't make sense, right? Whereas
Yeah.
I could go up, not know whether or not I can finish it. I could try. I could not know whether or not I could, I don't know, afford to get through the top. I could try. But if I don't see myself as even being able to do it in the first place, I'm never going to try. That's, you can't
Mhm.
help that. So I'd say
That's
it's
true.
just helping people actually see that it's possible and that they
Mhm.
can do it, and they just have to follow steps, and then at least you can help them walk through those steps. So I'd say that's
That's
probably
Is the why not more important before that though? Because you're not going to believe anything or do anything unless you have a strong enough why.
the why of like their own motivation.
Yeah,
Um, well, the why is it's what's going to keep fueling them,
yeah.
right? So in terms of like beliefs, the why is more like the motivator, I would say.
Mm.
The belief is more like the mental shift. So it probably does tie in. I think your why probably ties into why you need the beliefs in the first place.
Mhm.
To me, your why is more like that's like the cat you're running away from or the cheese you're chasing. So I see the why as more like your motivator as opposed to like the beliefs you need. Um, and then I would use their why to highlight the beliefs. That's how I'd
Yeah,
approach that.
yeah.
Makes
Yeah,
perfect sense.
yeah. Good question, though. Good question. Anything else?
Yeah, I suppose through DM, what would be the best way to kind of approach looking for that one? I mean, face to
Mm,
face is a bit easier, but via DM,
yeah,
I'll pose that question.
yeah, for sure. Good question. Yeah, DM's a lot harder to be able to go through all of that. Like if you try and pull all of that stuff through DMs, good luck, buddy. Good luck. And the reason I say that is because a lot of that stuff is like very emotionally charged, right? Even like the questions, if you ask it in the right way, you're probing for like good, like proper answers, right? And if it's not done the right way, it can come off way too strong or way too like nosy or pushy. And in the DMs, you can't read tonality, you can't see someone, you can't read their energy, body language, none of that. And as humans, that's how we read. Like half of it is just non-verbal, right? So in the DMs, you're probably limited in how like deep you can go. I would still just preface the question in the sense of like, what's actually driving you to make change now? That's probably how I use it.
Okay.
Because then you're still adding that urgency. You're still asking them, like, what's their intrinsic? Um, and the phrase "what's driving you" is like ask. It's like it's getting the motivation. It's almost like "what's your cat," right? But it's just phrased in a way that's very more open-ended. So that's how I'd approach that.
Okay. Appreciate that.
All good. All good. Oliver.
It's not necessarily a question. It was just to like add to what Kudus mentioned about the DMs. Me
Yeah.
personally, I'm on a DM offer where I offer fitness services to people who have year-long problems. Okay, so
Okay.
when those people kind of like trauma dump in a sense that like they've had pain for many years and stuff, when
Yeah.
you get that leeway, it's actually easier for you to probe into the emotions.
Yeah.
So in like your system of questioning can actually work depending on the offer that's shown.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point as well. Those five beliefs, sometimes you don't need to build them. Sometimes you don't need to ask that question. They might already be there, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So Oliver just said, if you do have someone who is already pouring everything out, they're in a lot of pain. Like they need your help or they want your help, right? I'm not then going to be really like, I'm not going to put a big focus on and what happens if nothing changes? And what happens in 6 months if you're in the same situation? Because they already know that. Like they're already feeling that, right? So I don't need to bring it out of them. I will touch on it a lot lighter because that person is already in an emotionally charged state. They already want our help. They're already problem aware. They're already solution aware. They just need someone to help them. So that's a very different prospect than someone who is on your call, but they're telling you everything's all good and okay because they need their beliefs shifted, right? Whereas a prospect like that, they already want your help. They just need to know that there's a solution. So I'd approach those people very differently. So yeah, good point there. Great point. Anything else at all? All good?
Yes,
Sweet.
sir.
Sweet. Anyone? Appreciate everybody. That was fun. Yeah, I guess what would be helpful for you with like the last 10 minutes? You can just kind of turn it into like a open session.
Mm, I mean, um, wait, just to actually like understand like your your sales journey or whatnot, did you actually start directly in closing or were you setting? Because I didn't catch that part.
Yeah. I started off setting.
Okay,
My
okay.
first one was setting on a real estate offer. I started New Year's Eve. Like I remember it very vividly. I started New Year's Eve. Boom, it just kind of happened. It took me maybe, I don't know, 2 months, maybe two and a half ish from like training to land on an offer. And then my first offer was just it was a pretty decent offer, so it just kind of happened quickly like that, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I went in there. My first week, I made I think 750 commissions as a setter, and then that obviously it was a good first taste. So it gave me like the positive reinforcement, and then from there I just kind of went all in. Um, I became a closer then in February. Like I've been going to the trainings. I've been annoying. I've been asking for call reviews, telling the manager this was my aim, X, Y, Z. And then an opportunity came which they had overflow of leads. They wanted to hire a closer. They gave me a chance. I was shit. I was so bad at the start. I was terrible, man. Um, I was like hard selling. I was motivating people. I was just getting them pumped up. But I didn't know any frameworks, I was just like, man, this is gonna be great for you. I was just that kind of guy. And obviously from like a sporting background, I was just used to like working harder
Mm.
stuff. So I was able to outbeat people just on volume. But my skill set was terrible. Like, okay, not terrible, that's a bit harsh on myself. But it wasn't at the level, you know. But it just goes to
Yeah.
show you don't have to be an amazing talker or communicator. If you just work, you're gonna beat so many people. So
Hmm.
that's
No,
it.
I appreciate that. And
Sure.
I guess my last question relating to that would be, how were you able to like shift your skill set as fast as you did in that short amount of time?
Yeah. Um, I became quite obsessive, right?
Mm.
To the point that it probably affected other areas of my life quite drastically.
Okay.
Like, there's two ways to go about it, right? You either just go all in, you burn the boats, and just realize, okay, cool, I'm in a season of change. Things are gonna get affected, personal life, gym, sport, family, whatever. But there's a reason, and that's kind of the path I took.
Mm,
Looking, would I have done it again? Yes. Would I recommend it? Probably not. Because it led to like burnout, it led to XYZ stress,
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I would definitely recommend prioritize health more
Mm,
while still chasing your goals. Um, but for me, I used to watch like me and YouTube were like this. We were locked in. I'd like hour long videos, take notes on them, get call reviews, just learn from people that were ahead of me, ask them questions, and yeah, I used to do like 16-hour days at a time, just in my room, just going through everything. So there's pros and cons to it, but it just speeds up your process. So yeah,
okay.
that's what I would
Well,
say
yeah.
on that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
But sure about that. Anytime. Anytime. Everyone's quiet today. What's happening?
Um, how would you
Oh,
go about? Because for me, since I'm about to start like a cold calling offer, well, it's not really fully cold calling, but pretty much is like, how would you go about me getting over that fear and getting that belief that, oh, I'm actually here to help this person and not just how's that word?
As Nike would say, just do it.
Yeah,
that's the easy.
You
I
gotta
wish you
just
left.
build the conviction in yourself, Jake.
You know,
Just
like,
in a way.
when I was starting with cold calls as well, you have that anxiety, the panic, is the person gonna answer after the first three? Bro, at the end of the day, once you get like your second call out of the way, trust me, you just fly through.
uh,
I guess
Yeah, just
what yeah. I guess like why do you fear it?
I guess it's probably the fear of failure. Like that shit will just
Mhm.
stop me from like completely. Like I will freeze on the spot, cut the
Yeah,
freeze on the spot. Like yeah,
yeah. I mean it makes sense. Like fear is a pretty strong emotion, bro. We were in Croatia like a month and a half ago, and I don't know about most of you, but like when it comes to swimming, like we have a love-hate relationship, right? So we were on a boat. We rented the boat for a day, whatever. And there was a videographer. He was flying a drone, and everyone jumped into the water. And they were like, "Basit, jump!" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." Basit, jump! I was like, "Yeah, I got you, I got you." And I knew I wasn't jumping, right? And they literally objection handed me live. They were like, "Cool, if you were making 20K a month, and you're telling me your wife was in the water and she was drowning or something was happening, you'd be there. I can't swim. Is that what you'd say?" Identity shifted, just like that, because I had to make a decision there and then. Who do I want to be? And I was like, yeah, you're right. But I still wasn't jumping. And they did it again, reframe. I was like, okay, cool, fuck it, you got me. They gave me like one of those little lilos. I'm like, put this around you, you float. I was like, that's not how it works. I'm negative buoyant. I was showing out everything. I was like, just jump, just jump. I was like, okay, cool, cool. I'll do it. I took the little bite, the lilo, I put it around me. And I was like, fuck, fuck, fuck. And I just jumped. The second I got in the air, my heart just skipped a beat. I was like, fuck, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? And I hit the water. And just instinct kicked in. I was like, if I don't start kicking, I'm gone. There's no high ticket sales. There's no there's no travel. I'm gone. I'm gone. And that was my cat. That was my wine. So I just started kicking. And then I started floating. And then the lilo went. I was like, wait a minute, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And just like that, the fear just went, because my body just realized, oh, there's actually no danger. This isn't as bad as we thought. So I'll just up here. Um, so takeaway from that story, I'm a terrible swimmer. And the second thing is you just have to do it and just feel the fear and just challenge your body to learn through it. Um, but I guess more of a logical help for you is like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Like in your head, what is the worst outcome from cold calling?
I guess they say no, and I'm not interested, and cut the phone.
And like, what's the worst outcome?
The worst thing I've ever had, someone told me to fuck off. That's it.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah,
No, there's no like repercussions to that.
yeah, that's literally it. You know, it's like if you're comfortable with the worst case scenario, there's only everything to gain, right? So
Yeah.
that's the way I look at it, right? It's like, what's the worst case scenario? Let's just say entrepreneurship. If I lose everything tomorrow, I go bankrupt, I go broke. Could I hypothetically start from ground zero with the knowledge I have right now? Yeah, I'm 23 years old. It's not the end of the world, right? So, like, the fact that I have even that belief, I'm just like, why would I not aim for the stars? Worst case scenario, I just start from scratch. You know, so it's the exact same thing with cold calling. Worst case scenario, someone tells you no. Cool. Happy days. We train for rejection. Best case scenario, you help a new life. They make money, you make money. It's a small price to pay. That's the way I see it anyway, you know? So,
But see, I just
okay.
had one there just while you were saying your
What's
story.
brother?
Um,
Don't
so
like me.
where now it's just where does the reframing kind of overlap with like reality and skills? So for instance, I get it that they were able to reframe you to finally take that leap to jump into the water if your wife was there making X, Y, Z a month.
Mm.
But if you are actually someone that didn't have the skills of swimming or there wasn't a buoyancy thing there, there's not much you can do in terms of reframing. You're not jumping in.
How do you build the skills of swimming?
Obviously, you're taking swimming lessons and whatever else. But I mean, if you're taking swimming lessons and whatever else, then they don't need to reframe you about jumping into the water because you probably just do it anyway.
I mean, not necessarily, right? We probably all know what's good for us. If I asked you, like, do you go to the gym every single day, biohack, make sure you get 10 hours of sleep, you'd probably say no, right? Deep down, you know, if you want to live a good, long life, it's the right thing to do. But like, why don't we do it?
Anyway,
So
don't have.
I mean, that's the limiting belief, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, skill does come into it, definitely. I mean, if you can't swim, you can't swim, or at least that's the belief that you're buying into, which is the belief I was buying into. Um, so like you can challenge them to get out of their own head. The only reason I did it was because there was a guy there he had been in the army or whatever. He was like, worst case scenario, you start going down, I will come get you. I didn't know whether or not he'd be able to lift me, but I was like, you know what, fuck it, there's nothing to lose. Well, actually, there was a lot to lose. I would have drowned, but yeah, um, you could just challenge them, right? Like you can't close everybody. You can't overcome every single belief because some people they'll be stuck in beliefs. Like I'm Nigerian. A lot of you here are Nigerian. Nigerian parents are some of the toughest prospects to close, right? If you can, if you've trained with them your whole life, you can deal with them. You shouldn't fear any prospect. You shouldn't fear cold calling, JB. Okay. Um. So yeah, if someone's like, for example, people over the age of I don't know 60, the fact of making money online is already abstract to them. It's probably alien. That's a belief they have that's been reinforced, reinforced, reinforced. It's gonna be quite hard to close them on the idea of this, you know. So you can only do what you can at the end of the day. Someone still has to meet you in the middle, but that's how that's what I'd say on the whole skill versus motivation thing. But yeah.
Just on that there, what did the videographer do with the video?
Well, I didn't drown, so I think he still has the video somewhere. Are you asking to see it? If that's the case, I don't know if
Oh,
it's.
okay.
Might have
It
to.
it doesn't sound as bad now as you portrayed it earlier. Okay.
You might have to
Yeah, I don't think
incorporate
it's the
the
light
video
of
into
day.
the next
But,
HTV.
huh?
I say you might have
But
to
you know,
incorporate that video into the next session that you hold.
do you know what it was as well? Yeah. Let's just say this is like the boat, and this is like where I jumped. And I was just like chilling. I was like, this isn't bad. Then the lilo went, and I was like, oh fuck, and my heart started like beating. And I was like, I have to make it from here back to the boat, or else I'm gone. And then I knew I couldn't swim like this, just the way I was. So I was like,
Got you by the end.
like, I have about 20 seconds, or else it's game over. And that's probably on video as well, so that's why it's not seeing the light of day. But yeah,
Ah,
that's what it went down. But yeah, anything else at all?